How's everyone doing today? So what we're going to be talking about today will be operating systems and firewalls. And my name is Calvin Barber, and this is for Kennesaw State University for the class of ISA 4220. Let's get started. So a little bit of a checklist of what we're going to be talking about today will be Windows 2012 R2 server, and also hardening tactics and best practices for the server. Um, Also, we'll be going into Ubuntu 16.04, and then hardening tactics and best practices for that one. And then Windows Firewall for Windows 2012 R2 server, hardening tactics and best practices for the firewall. And then we'll be getting into IP tables, which connects and links to Ubuntu 16.04 for hardening tactics and best practices for that one also. Sweet. So starting off, we're going to be talking about Windows 2012 R2 server. Windows is it's basically from Microsoft Corporation. Windows is proprietary, meaning that it does cost money, ranging from about $1,000, but it also comes with a bunch of unique features and guides for it. Also, Windows 2012 R2 came out on October 18th, 2013, and is the successor of Windows 2012. And then April 2014, they came out with some security updates for Windows 2012 R2, which is pretty recent. And then Windows 2012 R2 Server is a cloud focus, and the example for that would be Microsoft Azure. Um, it has support for Ubuntu, and then also Microsoft now includes Windows Defender for antivirus, malware protection, and BitLocker for data encryption. And also at the bottom right here are some websites that I use to find some of this information. Let's get into some hardening tactics for Windows 2012. Some hardening tactics would be Microsoft gives insight on guidelines to how to follow hardening Windows 2000 R2. So basically, the website at the bottom, um, basically Microsoft gives you guidelines step by step of how to harden Windows 2002 R2. And here's some just basic steps that I grabbed off the website and kind of filtered through. Was basically use NFTS only. The Windows NFTS file system partitions offer access controls and protection that are not available with other file allocation tables such as FAT, FAT32, or FAT32X file systems. And then also you want to use a strong password on the administrator account, and Microsoft allows up to 127 characters. So the more the merrier, because the more characters you have, the less likely you're going to have someone be able to crack your passcode or password. For maximum protection, you definitely want to make sure that the admin account is at least 9 characters long with a punctuation mark or other character at the end, such as like an exclamation point or like underscore or something like that. And then you also, for really maximum protection, you would love to like rename the admin account. So basically, it's kind of like a like basically to make the hacker think uh, like that's the admin account, but really it's not. So you'd rename the admin account, change the password, make it stronger, and then you kind of would have like 2 admin accounts, but the hacker wouldn't know which one to go to. Um, which is pretty cool. And then also at the bottom here, which would be websites used that I grabbed this information from. Going into the Ubuntu 16.0 server, .04 server, would be Ubuntu first came out on October 20th, 2004, and since then it has had multiple updates, um, and which is pretty interesting because their updates, they either come out in March or they either come out in October, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then the latest being Ubuntu 16.04, which came out this year, March 21st. Like I said, either March or October, um, in the mid March or October. It is a Linux-based server and has become like a big force in the Linux world. Ubuntu is completely free and is a more of like do-it-yourself server. So it's completely free. So if your organization wants to set up their own server, and you kind of want to do it your own and you don't need support or anything, that would definitely be a choice for you. it also has a built-in firewalls turned on by default and has automatic security updates with file encryption support. And it does not support Windows, and there is no GUI. And as before, these are the websites that I used. Some hardening tactics for Ubuntu. It's lock down your users' accounts, and don't let anyone be able to log in as your root. And then SSH hardening, which is the most common to the server and usually is targeted first from the hacker's standpoint. And then also you'd want setting SSH keys. While passwords can be hacked with brute force attack, the SSH keys are nearly kind of impossible to crack. And then generating these SSH keys, you'll grab 2 string characters, which will be public and private keys, and off of those, once that happens, you can set the public key to any server and connect through a client that already has a private key. And then basically, once the 2 match up to the system, it will unlock, and then you can even secure it even more by placing a paraphrase on that private key. So getting down into some Windows firewalls, it is host-based, stateful firewall that is built right in the Windows operating system. And basically, it's a Windows firewall is proprietary, so you also do have to pay for it. It's not free. And then specifically to Windows 2012 R2, these are some of the add-ons that came with the Windows firewall. So getting down to like Windows Store Application Isolation, basically previously you could not you could only enforce like security rules based on programs or ports. With Windows Server 2012 and Windows 2012 R2, you can now configure security rules for isolating Windows and store apps. So basically, an example would be like if you wish to only allow Windows app to access the local network and connect to the internet, this is now possible. And then getting down to PowerShell, CMD lets basically with the new extensive CMD lets, you can now completely configure a firewall policy from the Windows PowerShell environment remotely. And then SQL Server and Windows Firewall exceptions. Those would be like in Windows 2012 R2, the Windows Firewall is enabled for all network interfaces and for all network location types by default, which I thought was pretty cool. And this is the website that I gathered some information from. So some hardening tactics for Windows Firewall would be the configuration wizard. I'm going to get more into that a little bit down on this page would be, and then also close all unnecessary ports, backup firewall, regular, keep firewall up to date obviously, and then use IP addresses rather than DNS servers because it's just more proficient in doing it in that way, which is a lot better to do that. So getting back to the configuration wizard, the wizard basically encapsulates I can't even talk right now, sorry about that, encapsulates the knowledge and best practices, supplying the recommendations to the administrator. And then the security configuration wizard allows you to create, edit, apply, and remove policies. And then also the security configuration wizard performs an analysis and comes back with suggestions and changes that can be saved or applied to the policy based on the role of the server that the firewall is basically protecting. And then recommendation would be include required service and ports. Yeah. So basically, these are the websites I used here for this information. Going into IP tables, IP tables are connected with Ubuntu, and basically what they are, they're applications that allow system administrators of Linux systems to control packet filtering, network addresses, translation, and special effects such as packet mangling. Automatically installed, basically it's automatically installed with the default installation of Linux, and then the interface is a command line. IP tables is an open source project used to manage the tables of IP v4 packet filter in Linux kernel. And then there also is 3 chains of network traffic, which is input, output, and forwarding. Once these actions are taken or the rules are taken, it either comes back as it'll accept it, drop it, reject, or put it into a queue. Going over to some hardening tactics and best practices for IP tables would be based upon the rule of the server, rules that are then created. And then also all services on the hardened server should be reviewed for input and output regarding of its ports. Intent is to provide only required access for incoming and outgoing traffic without impacting the network and the security manager using netset command to determine service ports. And then you also want to like check and manage your firewall logs for any specific traffic that is coming in to your servers or through your firewalls, actually. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this, and just thanks for listening. Awesome.